We are 8 days away from the NBA season starting, so today I'm giving you 5 teams that I'm most interested in going into the 24-25 NBA season. I tried to balance this out. Of course, 5, you can never have 2 and 2. You can't have an even number, but I tried to give 2 Eastern Conference teams, 2 Western Conference teams. It ended up being 3 Western Conference, 2 Eastern Conference. Deal with it. Like, comment, share, sub if you enjoy the video. You already know that, but wait till the end to make sure you enjoy it first. We're starting off with the most interesting team in the NBA to me this year. It's the Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic. This team interests me on many levels, to be honest. They bought in more defensively to a team that was already the second best defensive team in the NBA last year. They were a bottom 10 offense, and they decided to buy in more defensively. They brought in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, as well as lost Markelle Fultz, and don't have a traditional table setter point guard. Now, they don't have a traditional table setter point guard unless somebody like Paolo or Franz or even Jalen Suggs himself becomes a plus playmaker. I could see Paolo becoming a plus playmaker. He had a couple of big assist games in the playoffs. He also had a couple of big turnover games, though. Of course, at the 5 spot, Wendell Carter Jr. is hurt. What's new? He's usually hurt. He's never played more than 62 games in a full season. I really do like him as the full-time starting center of this team. He's a stretch 5. He really gets the job done when he plays. During the offseason, Wendell Carter also underwent 3rd metacarpal surgery, which kind of leaves them at a hole at center position unless Mo Wagner, Goga Bitadze, and the surprise one, John Isaac, can really prove to be a plus combination at center. Apparently, John Isaac's added plenty of muscle. 30 pounds was the report that Legion Hoops put out. 30 pounds is serious muscle gain. However, Isaac still needs to be a positive offensive player to really contribute in this system, because if you're going to run John Isaac at the 5, you're going to need to play a little bit more of a 5-out system, and if John Isaac can't shoot, it kind of takes away the 5-out. However, this team is built for the playoffs. This is not a regular season built team. They might average 105 points per game. They don't want to score a ton. They want to lock you down. And that's what the playoffs are all about, to be honest. However, I think even Orlando Magic fans will tell you that there's a little bit of worry behind how that offense is going to work. Paolo and Franz will be tasked with taking on a lot of the workload offensively, and including like creating shots for their teammates, as well as creating their own. Franz struggled bad in the playoffs last year. Paolo, not as much. So it's kind of worrisome to see if the offense might even actually get worse this year. Although I think with KCP, the spacing actually got better on this team. I just wonder where some of the guys are going to play that they have behind them. Like, is Anthony Black going to see PT this year? Didn't play a ton last year. Cole Anthony, he might actually end up being a 6th Man of the Year candidate, in my opinion. This team just has so many weird parts around it, and I see somebody like Tristan Da Silva even being a potential real rotation player for them because he was such a good shooter in college, and he fits into that defensive, lengthy wing forward kind of role. Interesting to me does not necessarily mean bad. The Orlando Magic are interesting in a really good way, where it's like they're building something. I'm just not sure how it's going to work out. It's a bold strategy, Cotton, you know what I mean? Being second defensively last year and then bringing in KCP and trying to become better defensively is an insane thought, but I'm here for it. Only time will tell, but of course, in my opinion, the biggest question mark still is just that point guard position. Can Jalen Suggs be a full-time point guard? 3-and-D point guard, yeah. Jalen Suggs is already a pretty good 3-and-D point guard, but where is their passing going to come from? Where's the ball movement? Where's a table setter? Who's going to get the easy looks for teammates? In all, I see this Orlando team still being a comfortable playoff team, don't get me wrong. Probably somewhere around the 5 seed. This team is really good, and man, there's a real chance that they match up with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs again, but if they do, I think that they would come out victorious this time. I just really have a lot of faith in this Magic team to be good enough regular season-wise, and then come playoffs, they're going to beat the crap out of you. They're going to be physical. You know, John Isaac is a physical 1-5 defender. Jalen Suggs is a damn pest. Paolo Banchero is one of the bright up-and-coming stars in today's league. And then Franz is like a fringe all-star talent. You know, they have the pieces. It's just, do they all plug in and fit correctly now? I'm not sure, and that's kind of what makes them interesting. Number 2 is the Detroit Pistons for me. Last year is gone, and I think the most thankful team for that is the Detroit Pistons. Last year was the worst year imaginable for them, losing 24 or whatever games in a row. Far too many games in a row to lose. However, they did add some talent this offseason. They brought in Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, B-ball Paul Reed. This team's still not good. I'm gassing it up talking about the free agent ads. This team is still not really that good, but I really do like the outlook on this team down the line. Cade Cunningham's passing in the preseason has looked very sharp. He had an 8-assist, 1-turnover game the other day. He's had multiple 8-assist games in the preseason. Preseason doesn't mean a damn thing. I know, you don't need to tell me, but let me get hyped on preseason. On top of Cade Cunningham's passing looking really good, Jaden Ivey has looked very good. Very sharp as like a slasher, cut to the basket. He's gonna be the rim pressure guy. I like what Jaden Ivey's putting forward in the preseason of this season. On top of that, Jalen Duren is still just Jalen Duren. You know what you're going to get. Good interior presence, physical guy, a lot of rebounds. However, last season, the Detroit Pistons were the 4th worst offense and the 6th worst defense. I'm confident one of those will go up. And my prediction is the offense. Their offense has just got to be better. They had no floor spacing last year. None. Isaiah Stewart was the starting 4-man. In 2024, you can't be rolling out 2 centers. They bring in Tobias Harris, who's immediately a better 4 than Isaiah Stewart and creates better spacing for guys like Cade and Ivey to get better looks. Ausar Thompson needs to be A+. That is the biggest thing. Ausar Thompson needs to find ways to be A+ on the basketball court. He is an amazing defender. Really good. Projects to be one of the best in the NBA in the next few years. However, you will not make the rotation if you are not at all competent offensively. Make a 3 at higher than a 15% clip. Maybe he's better off at the 4. Maybe he'll be the starting 4. I have no idea, but Ausar Thompson needs to figure out how to be a plus offensive player soon. Ron Holland, let's talk about him. He was maybe one of my favorite prospects coming into the draft just because I always like a raw talent every once in a while, pause. But I do like a talent who's not quite as developed, but has a really high ceiling, and that feels like Ron Holland. However, I used the preseason to gas up Cade Cunningham. I'm also going to use the preseason to say, oh boy, Ron Holland's been forgettable, to say the least. Assist-wise, the first few games he looked pretty sharp. Shooting is still rough. But that's what he was. He was a rough around the edges prospect who was number 1 ranked in his class, but just didn't really live up to the expectations after that. But his playing time is something I'm even more unsure about. How much PT does he get? How much do they factor in, player development versus winning games? But like I said before, I think the master key to this offense being at least good is Ausar Thompson. If he can somehow figure out a way to be a plus offensive player, not even saying make threes, I don't know, slash, play in the dunker spot maybe, they need to figure out how to get him to be a plus offensive player in any capacity. Because if he is, this team will be very fun. I really like the outlook on this team if Ausar can be a plus offensive player and can help them contribute on more than just one end. However, if Ausar Thompson is bad, and you expect Tobias Harris to be more than what Tobias Harris is, which is like a 14 to 16 point scorer, this team probably can end up losing 15 in a row again. They added Malik Beasley. I didn't even mention that, but Malik Beasley is a plus shooter. He might end up starting over Ausar Thompson if he can't get his offensive game together. I get the defense is really good with Ausar, but man, do they need somebody to shoot the damn ball. With all those things I just said, I'm still very excited for their future, and this season may not be pretty, but I like what they're building, kinda. The third team I'm interested in going into this next season is another team that has a really, really high ceiling and a really, really low floor. It's the New Orleans Pelicans. Why is Herb Jones a starting 5? I'm telling you right now, Herb Jones is the starting 5 on this team, and that alone is enough to be like, what? Yeah, it has me interested. They have a ton of talent. Arguably one of the most talented teams in the league, don't get me wrong. But I'm just interested to see how spacing and the offensive aspect of this team work. They didn't take a ton of threes last year. However, they had a DeJounte Murray who averaged 7 threes per game last season, so maybe that helps their volume go up as a team. I think the three-point shooting will need to go up volume-wise, though, to be at least a competitive team, because they're going to be giving up 2s galore. And yeah, you could say, well, they could trade 2s with the other team. But the difference is that the other team's probably going to get them at a more efficient clip, because the only 6'10" guy or taller on this roster is Yves Missi, who is a rookie. There's not many guys over 6'9" on this roster. Daniel Tice is about 6'8". That's their backup 5. I guess he's their third string 5 if Herb is their starting one. I don't know. I assume somebody like Messi would start against like Denver or the Lakers or something. There's no way they can roll out Herb Jones and confidently say they can guard Nikola Jokic or Anthony Davis. You can also take your pick on who the odd man out on this team is. I'll leave it up to you guys down below. Brandon Ingram is the clear odd man out. He has these contract negotiations that are going absolutely nowhere. He wants $200 million, and I don't think anybody's willing to pay him $200 million. And then the other one is CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum, very talented player, but if you're going to go small as a team, you need to not have a 6'3 guard as your starting two. 6'5 and 6'3 are the height of your backcourt members, and you don't have a 7-footer. That's just what I worry about, is do they have enough size to actually win games? They have Javonte Green on their roster. I mean, he ran some 5 a few years ago for the Bulls. Is that in the cards? I just don't know where this team's going to go. I don't know. And if it's a mess at midseason, I'd assume someone gets dumped for a center because it's glaring what this team needs. It's probably center. If it's something else at midseason, I don't know what it would be. Because if you need 3-point shooting, you have it on the bench. You have a guy like Hawkins. You also have Antonio Reeves, who you brought in, who I think can really help your team if you play him. Is that Kentucky bias because I'm a Kentucky fan? Maybe, but I really like Antonio Reeves. Give Antonio Reeves PT, that's my guy. This is also relying on Zion to be healthy. That's the biggest one. It always has been. It always will be with the Pelicans. They're similar to the Clippers in the sense where their star player needs to be healthy or else things will go south very quickly. Trust me, we'll be talking about you later, Clippers. Yeah, that's foreshadowing. This team just screams a ton of mid-range jumpers and layups. And it's not ideal, because if you don't have a center, you don't have a 7-footer, you don't have a rebounder, a dedicated rebounder, you will struggle to get rebounds, you will get killed on the glass. The reason why the Rockets could run out small ball them years back was because they take a lot of threes. Long shots lead to long rebounds. Long misses, long rebounds. Here's the thing, if you're taking mid-ranges, you're not getting long rebounds. If you're taking layups, you're not getting long rebounds. You're going to need up the 3-point frequency to be able to keep up with a lot of these teams nowadays. With all that being said, this is another team that, although I call them interesting, they are not a bad team. This will not be a bad team, surely. Now that I'm saying it out loud, something's going to go terribly wrong. But of course, like I said just a few seconds ago, this relies heavily on Zion being healthy. I root for him. I really do root for Zion Williamson. I just need to see him be healthy for one season, please. For the Sacramento Kings. Missing the playoffs last year was a shame for the Kings, to be honest. I was pulling for them hard to end the season. Also ending the season, that Vezenkov situation was pretty weird. Sasha Vezenkov, he didn't want to be a King. He didn't like his role, but he missed half the season injured anyways, and when he did play, he was terrible. I don't get that. You're not happy with your role, but the role that you do have, you are not striving or excelling in. What do you expect? I don't know, I just went on a mini rant there. However, this is another high ceiling, low floor team. DeMar DeRozan ad was definitely one of the free agency ads this season. They can be a real threat, or they can finish pretty much in the same spot as last season, and I wouldn't doubt either one. Adding DeMar DeRozan made me think that there was more coming in free agency, but no, that was really it. DeMar does make them better, though. The one thing that this team did last year that they cannot do this year is be middle of the pack in both offensive and defensive rating. They were not a top 10 offense. They were not a top 10 defense. That's an issue for this team. I think they just need to have an identity. 2 years ago, it was they shot a lot of threes and they ran with pace. They played with pace and they were a top 5 offense. Last year, they weren't even close to a top 5 offense. They also didn't really play great defense either. I'd assume adding DeMar DeRozan means you're more bought in offensively because he himself has never been a strong individual defender. So if you're leaning in offensively, I'm so here for it. I like the starting 5 of Fox, Keon Ellis, DeMar, Keegan, Domas. That is a great starting 5. Where does the spacing come from, though? Hell, even last season, the Kings as a team weren't even that good as a 3-point shooting unit like they were the year before that. Kevin Huerter's fall off was a big reason why. And then Sasha Vezenkov just not producing. My big hope for this team is that somehow Domas can become a shooter, add jump shooting to his bag. It would give the team a massive boost in spacing that DeMar DeRozan didn't add. DeMar is a good mid-range shooter, and he is efficient. I just question it alongside De'Aaron Fox, who is also mid-range heavy and efficient. Malik Monk off the bench is going to be set up for another 6-man of the year type campaign, but it's just the spacing, the middle of the pack offense, probably a worse defense because, like I said, DeMar is not really a defender. I just have a lot of question marks with this team. It's going to be fun, don't get me wrong, but I just wonder where a lot of their spacing is going to come from. Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray are good shooters, but 2 out of 5 is not that good. Maybe De'Aaron takes a step from 3-point. Maybe that'd be even more fun. I don't know, though. It's just a lot of question marks here, and that's what makes them interesting to me, is just the fact that they missed the playoffs last year, and they felt like they had to not hit a home run, but at least make it better, make the team better. And they did. Adding DeMar DeRozan raises the floor of this team. However, the ceiling of this team is still maybe the same, to be honest. I don't know. DeMar isn't really a ceiling raiser, more of a floor raiser. But that's the thing that I kind of did like about it, though, is because I kind of want the Kings back in the playoffs. Here's to hoping that there will be plenty of beam lighting this season for you Kings fans. I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. But it's just, there's question marks here, and I'm sure even you feel the same way. And the last team we're going to talk about, I mentioned them earlier, it's the Clippers. It is very ironic that this team is named after Clipper ships, and they rebranded, and their new logo even has a Clipper ship in it, because there's a very real chance that this team is a sinking ship. Ty Lue said they don't even know if Kawhi is going to be ready for the season. Here we go. The mess has begun. James Harden, he's 35 years old, coming off of his lowest scoring season since his 2011-2012 6-man of the year campaign. Kawhi Leonard already isn't healthy, and the rest of the roster from top to bottom is really just role players. Plus, Kawhi had that soundbite like last week where he said nobody's impressed him so far this season. The bench consists of Kevin Porter Jr., didn't play in the NBA last season, Chris Dunn, who was pretty good, actually really good in a small role, 19 minutes a game with the Jazz. And then Nick Batum, who's 35. Mo Bamba, who's often injured. Let me not mince words here. If Kawhi Leonard is hurt, this team will be bad. If Kawhi Leonard plays less than 65 games, the season's over. There's no saving it. Kawhi Leonard probably doesn't even make them a championship contender. Kawhi Leonard just makes them a playoff team. If they didn't build that new stadium, I'm not gonna lie, they'd have probably rebuilt by now. But you don't build a new stadium and then go immediately into a rebuild because tickets ain't selling with Kai Jones as your star player. The timing of it all just sucks. Paul George leaving the same year that they finally get their own arena, and now they're kind of left with nothing, and they have to swim to stay middle of the pack because tickets don't sell in a rebuild. If Kawhi's healthy, yeah, that's a really big question. If Kawhi's healthy, this could be maybe like a 5-6 seed at best. A fun 7 seed most likely. I just think they should get out in front of the rebuild before it's staring at them in the face. I'd prefer them to get out ahead of the rebuild before everyone loses value, and then you're left with nothing, especially since they don't even have their own solidified, guaranteed first-round pick until 2030, meaning every pick's rights down the line until 2030 is in someone else's hands. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, Lawrence Frank is a basketball terrorist. It's a mixed, kind of poor-built, aging team that I just don't see any faith or belief in. I feel for you, Clippers fans, but man, is this the worst time to get your own arena and own branding and disband from being in the Lakers' shadow just in time for your rebuild. If you guys enjoyed this video, like, comment, share, sub. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to go catch the game. See you guys in the next one.